Good evening, my loyal subjects. 'Tis the Queen of Leaky Gut, bringing to you on yet another scintillating Wednesday evening another topic about my favorite subject, leaky gut. And tonight we're going to talk about, and if you would indulge me and sit a spell and listen for a few moments, do antibiotics cause leaky gut? And the answer? A resounding huzzah! Anyway, that's yes in Shakespearean. I'm going to take my crown off. My name is Dietitian Jill, and I am the Queen of Leaky Gut. And welcome to my office. And I definitely want to talk to you tonight about, do antibiotics cause leaky gut? And yes, the answer is a resounding huzzah, because antibiotics are really the #1 cause of leaky gut. And how do I know that? Well, research has said in less than 10 years, the use of antibiotics has doubled. It's very interesting because my alternative medicine colleagues are all saying the age of antibiotics is over, but you could have fooled me. Last time I was at the doctor's, he wanted to put me on antibiotics. So doubled in less than 10 years. And also, researchers have cautioned that up to 50% of those prescriptions are unnecessary and you do not need them for what you have. Okay, so I'm going to tell you my own personal story with leaky gut, and it's really a very sad one, not leaky gut and antibiotics. When I was writing this article, there's an article on my website called Do Antibiotics Cause Leaky Gut? And you might want to go read it for those people who are visual learners and don't want to watch me prattle on about leaky gut and antibiotics. I didn't realize until I was writing the story that when I was very small, I had tonsillitis, and the doctors gave me antibiotics until I could be age 2 and have them removed. Now, we all know that that's probably not a good idea right now to do that, because tonsils are really one of your first lines of defense from bugs that go in your body. But then they did that, and also they waited, and I guess I was born with infections, and I don't remember a lot except about the ice cream that I got afterwards. But that was what happened with me. And then in my 20s, I developed a massive infection from an IUD, and the doctor again put me on massive doses of antibiotics. And later, a year later, because massive doses of antibiotics for a year, that just kept escalating, and then found out that it really wasn't that thing in the first place. It was something else. So anyway, that's my story. So the aftermath of all of that was basically that I developed massive digestive problems from the massive antibiotics. I'm just going to adjust the screen a little bit because I'm not a big, there, that's a little better. I felt a little out of kilter. So what has happened my whole life is that I've had digestive problems. And, you could call it IBS-D, irritable bowel syndrome. No, actually, IBS-C, the constipation kind. So I never know what the morning will bring, to be nice about it. And I've taken all kinds of things, and food sensitivity testing really helped with my constipation, but didn't totally fix it, because heaven knows I grew up with antibiotics. So it's been a real struggle. It's part of the reason, though, I got into this position in the first place. And I think you'll find that most alternative practitioners get into their line of work because of the fact that they've had problems. And, you know, I never was horribly sick, except that I had these issues. And that was very sad. So what happens when you take antibiotics? Let's talk about it generally. Enough about my story. I'm still, you know, working on it, and I'm working on a protocol that I think will help most people. So I'll keep you posted on that. If you want to read the article that I'm talking about, it's on my website, www.healyourhealthnow.com. And it's called Do Antibiotics Cause Leaky Gut? It's my latest one, so you won't have very much trouble finding it. It's on the first page. So what actually happens, I love it, beloved wellness guru and gluten-free guru calls antibiotics the A-bomb, because, and it's interesting because I grew up in the 50s, so I remember those pictures of the atom bomb and the tests on the atom bomb, and they would drop a bomb on the some kind of constructed housing with, you know, with mannequin people and dogs and cars and whatever. And you know, I think you can still see those on YouTube, and it would just drop the A-bomb and it would just level the entire place. Well, I have to close my computer just a moment. It would just level the entire place. And that's kind of pretty much what happens. So when you take antibiotics, you just pretty much level your entire gut microbiome. You know, remember, microbiome is the is all this bacteria that's in your, mostly in your gut, but in your mucosal lining, that really is helpful mostly. So it'll level it. And basically you have to regrow it. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, because I ended up on yet another dose of antibiotics for an infection that I had. What can I say? That's why I'm working on the protocol. What ends up happening is, because it levels it, because, you know, it doesn't discriminate, it's an equal opportunity destroyer. And it basically levels everything, good bacteria, bad bacteria, you name it. And so what ends up in your gut is usually it becomes a real good breeding ground for opportunistic bacteria, molds, toxins, yeast, you name it. And, you know, Candida is such a buzzword today. And Candida is something we normally have in our gut. But when we're talking about Candida, we're talking about an overgrowth, which is not a good thing, because, you know, overgrowing anything is just not a good thing. Candida is great in balance, but not when it's overgrown. So that's what ends up happening. It becomes a real breeding ground for opportunistic bugs that should not be there. The bad gut, I call them the bad gut guys. So, you know, really what we're dealing with is, because I am the queen of leaky gut with a very heavy crown, I gotta get another one. Or maybe I'll start a collection. Anyway, it becomes a real problem because you end up with leaky gut. Because when the bacteria overgrow, it's a real, you know, opportunity for them to, as we talked about, excuse me, in other Facebook Lives, to breed and get into the bloodstream where they cause havoc. So it's kind of a mess right now. A lot of us have leaky gut, as I said before, 80%, which is kind of scary. And then Then the other thing about antibiotics is, it's not just in the ones we take, but it's in our food sources, it's in our groundwater. They, excuse me, they did a whole big, brouhaha about the antibiotics in chicken and in beef, and because they give it to make them grow bigger and grow faster. And of course, antibiotics are also sprayed on vegetables to make them plumper too. So where does it go? It goes into the groundwater. So pretty much everything is contaminated. Isn't that a great thing? Don't you love that? Everything is contaminated. So, I have, okay. So, food becomes unhealthy. That's one of the reasons why those of us in the alternative community are very big on organic. So it's probably the best case scenario. I know it's more expensive, but it's a better thing for you. They also, the other piece, the cool thing is, and I'll do a whole article on this, antibiotics stimulate bacteria to grow biofilms. And biofilms are kind of like how do I explain it? It's like a polymer. It's like this hard coating, like a polymer. If you've ever used polymers, when you were coating furniture or anything else, it's a very hard coating. And you have to bust through the polymer, the biofilm, to get to the bacteria so that you can kill it. And it's very interesting. National Institutes of Health has postulated that it can take up to 100 times the standard antibiotic dose to penetrate the biofilm. That's why we have so much antibiotic resistance bacteria, and that's another issue with antibiotics. So we're I kind of say, screwed all the way around. We have it, we have to take it, or the doctor prescribes it, and most people take it. It's in our meat, it's in our poultry, it's in our vegetables, it's in our groundwater. It makes the bacteria build biofilms to protect themselves, and there you go. So what's the solution? Where do you go from there? Well, I think what you need to do is start with something like the Pagan Diet. Mark Hyman put paleo and vegan together to make the Pagan Diet. Coming soon is my Heal Your Gut Diet, which I will talk to you about in later episodes of this, and you'll be able to get that on my website. Right now you can get the Pagan Diet on my website. Just go to this article and scroll down to the bottom and get the Pagan Diet. It's a good way to start because you want to starve out the bad gut guys and just get started in a good place. And then you really, I really can't emphasize the getting with somebody who really knows what they're doing. I just had a conversation about a half an hour ago on the phone with someone who's always been healthy and is now not healthy and wants to know why, and it's really hard to know. But I would start with leaky gut there and see where that's at, and then go from there. So I would really encourage you, to go to my website, www.healyourhealthnow.com, and check out the Pagan Diet, and check out this article and some other articles about leaky gut, and find a practitioner. If you're not feeling well and you've taken massive doses of antibiotics like me, it's time to do something about your health. Anyway, this is the Queen of Leaky Gut, Dietitian Jill, signing off. Next week, I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided, but you will know because it'll be on the Facebook Lives. It'll be on Facebook, and it'll be on Pinterest, and this one will be published on YouTube. So go for it. And I hope you have a fabulous evening. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.